Hello guys, I hope you are fine. So welcome to my channel. Today I'll be starting a new chapter, new concept. So here it goes. Today we'll be starting lesson number 4 from unit 1 from the same book Daffodil Social Science, the Vedic culture. So first we'll be moving with the introduction, that is we have studied in the preceding chapter that the early men learned to live in groups. Gradually they knew the importance of life. The first such group of the people were called Aryans. The Vedic culture was developed by the Aryans. So here it is said in the previous chapter we have learned that the importance of life, that the early people learned to live in the groups and they learned the importance of life, and the first group was Aryans. So who developed Aryans? The Vedic culture. The next topic which we'll be studying in the literature of the Aryans. We get the knowledge about the Aryans mainly through the Vedas. That is why this period of Indian history is called the Vedic age. The Aryans believed that the Vedas were the words of God. So in this lines it is said that we came, means about Aryans, how did we get? We get knowledge from the Vedas. And so this period of Indian history is known as the Vedic age. They believed, who believed? The Aryans believed, what they believed, that the Vedic means the Vedas words were the words of the gods. The Vedic contain a great deal of wisdom and information. There are four types of Vedas: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. The Rig Veda is the oldest Veda which was composed most likely between 1500 to 1200 BC. The text is a collection of 1028 hymns and 10,068 1600 verses. These verses are composed in praise of gods and goddess of the sages, means rishis. So here it is said that means Vedas are, means contain very big deal. What deal does they contain? They contain the deal of wisdom and information. And there are four types of Veda: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. And which is the oldest Veda? Rig Veda is the oldest Veda. When was it composed? It was composed between 1500 to 1200 BC. And what does it collect? It collects 1028 hymns and 10,600 verses. And what does this hymn compose? It composed in the praise of God and goddesses by sages, that are rishis. The Upanishads and the Vedanta contains the view of great saints. Since common people were not able to understand the Vedas and Upanishads, new explanatory books were written in simple prose. So here it is said that the Upanishad or the Vedanta are the views of great saints. So means common people cannot understand these things, Upanishads of Vedanta. So new notebooks were combined with new explanatory that were written in simple prose. This period of Indian history is known as the Vedic age because Vedic texts were main source of information about this age. So here it is said that this period of Indian history is known as the Vedic age because the main source of information about this age comes from the Vedic text. So next we'll be coming about the Aryans. The word Arya in Sanskrit means noble. The Aryan people were men of noble character and high deals. So here it is said the word Aryan in Sanskrit means noble, and the people of Aryan means the Aryan people are the men of noble character and high deal. Before moving to that, let me say that there are 108 Upanishads and 18 Puranas. Okay, so next we'll be coming to the coming of the Aryans to India. The Aryans spread to different parts of the world from their original home in central India. Those who came to India are known as Indo-Aryans. So here it is said that the Aryans are spread to the whole world and their original home is in Central Asia, and those who came to India means the Aryans who came from Central Asia to India are known as Indo-Aryans. They came during the early part of the second millennium. they were pastoral people. They migrated from their original home because of the increase in their numbers, the search of new grasslands, and the changing climate of Central Asia. So here it is said that when did the Aryans come to India? At the second millennium. And what they were pastoral people. What type of people they were? Pastoral people. And so they migrated from their house, means original homes. How did they migrate? They migrate from their original home. And why did they migrate? So let me, first point is the increase in their number. Since their number were very increases, they cannot live in one place. Then search of new grasslands. And thirdly, the changing climate of the Central Asia region. So these are the things why Aryan shifted to their home. So with this we have ended our topic, the coming of Aryans to India. So the next topic which I will be teaching is spread of the Aryans. The Aryans first settled at the Sapta Sindhu. From there they moved eastwards into the river valleys of the Ganga and the Yamuna, north of the Delhi, where a river called Saraswati then followed. It has since dried up. Here it is said that the Aryas first settled at the Sapta Sindhu. From there, they moved towards the eastwards. Where did they move? They moved to the river valleys. Of which river? The Ganga and the Yamuna. Where? The north of Delhi, where a river called Saraswati then followed. Means it has dried up, so they have followed up. Here, they stayed for quite a long period, composing the hymns of Rigveda. In due course of times, this area came to be known as Kurukshetra, where the battle of Mahabharata between the Kauravas and the Pandavas is said to be have taken place. So here it is said, means they have stayed in this place so many times. What did they did? They have composed the hymns of Rigveda, and so on. In the time it came to be known as the Kurukshetra, and where the great battle of the Mahabharata between the Kauravas and the Pandavas have taken place. So this was the topic of the spread of the Aryans. Sorry, by mistake I have said you that we have finished, but it has not finished. We'll continue this thing. So the second paragraph in here is, then they moved eastwards into the Ganga valley. They cleared the thick forests, burning and cutting them down with their iron axes. Iron was a new discovery. We know that the Indus people used copper and bronze, but the Aryans used iron. This is the contribution of the Aryans to the human civilization. So here it is said that first they moved towards the eastwards. Now they move. Sorry, 1 minute. They moved in the valleys of the eastwards of the Ganga, as I have already said you. And they cleared the forest by burning and cutting them down into iron axes. And that time the iron was new discovery. We know that the Indus people used copper and bronze, but Aryans used iron. So your question may be asked, what is the difference between the Aryans and the Indus people? So you can write a basic thing. Here it is, Indus people used copper and bronze, whereas Aryan people used iron. Or if you want to make it in 2 points, you can write as Indus people used copper, Aryan people used iron. And second point, Indus people used copper, Aryan people did not use copper. This is the contribution of the Aryans into human civilization. It is around this time that iron also came into use in Western Asia and Europe too. The Iron Age was brought in by the Aryans in India. So here it is said that it is around this time But that iron also came into use in Western Asia and Europe too. And here it is said that the Iron Age was brought in by the Aryans in India. The central Gangetic plan was called the Madhya Desa. The Aryans continued their eastward march till they reached the Bay of Bengal and moved up to the northeast region. The whole Uttar Pratha, the land between the Himalayas and the Vindhyas, and from the west sea to the east, was named Aryavarta. So here it is said, central Gangetic plan was known as Madhya Desa, and they have marched till where? Till they reached Bay of Bengal. And where did they move? They moved to the northeast region, the whole of Uttar Patha, the land between the Himalayas and the Vindhyas, and from the west sea to the east was known as the Aryavarta. So this was my topic, the spread of the Aryans. So after the Aryans we will be learning the political organization. So here it goes. More and more Aryan tribes poured into the country. This tribe fought with each other over grassland. Each tribe has its king, also called Rajan, or chief, who would lead the trade in these fights. So here it is said, more and more Aryans moved in India into the country, and they fought with each other over grasslands, and each had a king called Rajan, or chief, who would lead the tribe in these fights. Suppose there are two parties, so one will have one king, other will have another king or chief, and both will lead the fight with each other. Therefore, only a strong man was selected as a king. During the later Vedic period, kingship became heredity. When a king died, his son, his successor, or the new king, became his successor or the new king. So here it is said, we cannot select anyone for a fight. Suppose in a class captain or the monitor, the teacher will never select a talkative or a irresponsible boy, because the teacher know he will not do the work properly. So whom does the teacher select? A brave, a intelligent, a responsible, and a very sincere student, so that they can guide. Like that only. Here, no, they will not select. They will select a strong and a brave man, because they need their war to win. And during this Vedic period, kingship became heredity. How? Here it is said that if a king died, his son will become his successor or the new king. Understood? If he had two sons, the big son will get the first. And if he died, his son will get, or his brother will get. The king ruled with the help of a number of people. The commander of the army was called Senai. The Purohita, or priest, performed religious ceremonies and gave advice to the kings in important matters. So here it is said, with the help of number of people, the commander of army was called Senai. And the Buddha or the priest performed religious ceremony and gave advices to the king in important matters in order to remain in touch with the tribesmen living in the neighboring villages. The king had messengers, the headmen of the village, the Gramins or the Grams of the village of his tribe used to advise the king, but when it came to matter of the utmost importance, the king would seek the advice of the entire tribe. So here it is said, king cannot rule by his own, so he need a lot of people, and there was a commander. All people, one single king cannot handle the whole army. So here one more commander, that was commander of the army. What he was known as? He was known as Sanai. And who used to give advice of this? Purtha, the priest, performed religious ceremonies, give advice to the king when in important matters. For what? To remain in touch with the tribes living in neighboring villages. how the king, so in neighboring villages also the king cannot take the advice from the Purorthi or the Senai and give. He cannot give alone. So what did he had? He had the messenger. So the head of the village of his tribe would used to advise the king. So messenger would give the advice to the headman. Now headman liked or not, how he will give? Means whom the messenger will give advice. He cannot give the advice to the whole village. So he had the headman of the villages who gave him the advice. So in small matters okay, but in big matters or important, the king would take means sick from the whole village, because a alone person cannot never means give the advice. If you are in a team you will get the very nice advice. So this was about political organization. We'll be reading more points under it as followed. So next topic which we'll be learning is Sabha and Simiti. Sabha and Simiti were the two institutions to check the powers of the king. Samiti was the national committee of the whole tribe. All important issues were discussed in it. Anyone could speak out of his mind about the problem. The Sabha appears to have been a small assembly. Small selected people took part in its meeting. Several tribal assemblies such as Sabha, Simiti, Vidhata, Gana are mentioned in Rig Veda. So there are two, Sabha and Simiti. There are two institutions to check the powers of the king. Is the king using the right power of the not? So what are the names of this? Sabha and Simiti. What is Simiti? Simiti is the national committee for the whole tribe. So for the whole tribe, so it will have many important things. So what were done here? Important issues will be discussed, since it is a very big, all issues cannot be discussed. Important issues, who could speak? Anyone could speak out of his mind. The selected peoples of the sub simiti means selected peoples will be taken to speak, not all. That selected people will listen to everyone. So here it is said that everyone could speak about the minds. The Sabha appears to have been a small assembly. Selected people took part in its meetings. So here it is a small assembly. You think 10 people Sabha it is selected, means area wise or city wise, like that only, or state wise. So selected peoples were allowed to speak. That selected people speak to the Simiti, the members of the Simiti. Several tribal assembly. So there were several assembly, tribal assemblies. So what were they? Sabha, Simiti, Vidhata, Gana. Where are these mentioned in today's world? Will you see this name? I don't think so. Since you are reading history, then you are coming to know. So it was mentioned in the Rig Veda. So this was the topic, Sabha and Simiti. Next topic we'll be learning is the family. Most of the families were joint families. People took the family as a smallest administration unit. The eldest male member of the family was the head of the family. He was called Grihapati. All powers of the family were vested in him. He made all decisions and other family had to accept his decision. Women also had an important place in the family and society. Even after marriage, sons lived with their father. So here it is said, in the previous generation we know that many were joint families, not nuclear families like today's. And people took the family as a small administration unit. And who would handle? Everyone could not handle this thing. So the eldest member of the house, that is the male member of the house, means led the family. He was known as the Grihapati, and all powers of the family vested on him, means all powers of the family was on him. Whatever he say had to be followed. Everyone had to follow his decision and had to accept. Yes, not only male, women also had an important place in the family and society. And yes, in today's this thing also is running. Sons after marriage always live with their father. not with anyone else. Means with the family only the son lived. So this was the family. Now we will be reading The Village. A village was formed by a group of families living together. The tribe was spread over many villages. The village was called Gram. So here it is said, means a village was formed by very a group of family living together. A small four people cannot become a village. At least you will need, I think, so around 5 to 6,000 to form a village. Huh. And who spread? The tribe spread over many villages. And what was this village known as? Gram. In the beginning, villages were very small in size, but when people gave up the nomadic way of living and took agriculture, villages became larger. The villages has divided into two families. So here it is said that in the beginning villages were small since only the tribes came, okay, but yes, when nomadic life gave away their life, means nomadic people gave away their means way of living, then they took agriculture, as we know. So when agriculture came, they had to do in village. So that time village became larger and it got divided into two families. So this is the thing, that before village was small and afterwards it became larger. So I have completed the village in the content political organization. Next we'll be reading is cattle, horses and carrots. The cow was the most important family. It gave milk, cow dung used for manufacturing field and for plastering houses, and the young bulls were used for plowing fields. The cow was regarded as the next to money because of its great economic value and also for the milk it produced, which was beneficial for health. It is said, still today we say that cow is the important animal, most important animal. Why? It gave milk to drink and also cow dung. Where what for what it would help? For manuring the fields and for plastering the houses. Not only cow cannot take means plow the fields, so young bulls were used for plowing the fields, and cow was regarded next to money because of its great economic value and for its milk it produced, because milk was very beneficial for health. So this is the first paragraph of cattle and carrot. Into the next paragraph. Horse was another important animal. Aryans had brought horse with them. The best horse were from Central Asia. Horse drew chariots. Chariots were light two-wheeled cart pulled by one or more horses. They were means of fast transport and were thus useful in battle. So here it is said, horse is another important animal. Who brought them? The Aryans brought them. F- which horses are best? The best horses are from Central Asia. What did horse do? Horses drew chariots. What are chariots? Chariots are light two-wheeled cart pulled by one or more horses. What did they do? They were a means of transportation and were thus useful in battle. Who used it? Kings and army commanders fought from chariots. Why is it used? Or who used it? It was used by the king and many army commanders who were cha- chariots. Who is a chariot maker? A chariot maker was therefore held in high esteem. So, sorry, not who. Why did chariot maker? Why chariot maker is held in high esteem? Because the chariot became a status for the symbol in later periods. King in later periods drove chariots or rode on elephants. Chariot racing was important pastime for people of high rank. So chariot is also very important. It is not less than anything else. So with this, I have completed cattle, horses, and chariots. Next, we will be moving to the life of the people. The Dhaswas and the Aryans. Before the influx of the Aryans, the Dhaswas were the natives of India. Their language were different from the Vedic Sanskrit. They worshipped different gods. The Aryans called people Dasas and were very hostilized to them. The Dasas, whom the Aryans had made slaves, had to do the most difficult type of work. However, most of the Dasas chiefs were treated with great respect. So here it is said, before the influence of Aryans, the Daswas were natives of India and their language were very different from Vedic culture. They worship different gods. So this is the, and the Aryans called the people the Sars. And what did they do? They were very, how means how were Aryans to the Sars? They were very hostilized to them. The Sars, whom the Aryans had made slaves, had to do the most difficult type of work. Here it is said, the Aryans, the Dasas whom the Aryans made slaves, means the Dasas were the slaves who had to do most of the work, means most different types of difficult types of work. But yes, some of the Dasas chiefs were created with great respect. So this was the Daswas and the Aryans. So now I'll be explaining you society. Early Vedic society was relatively advanced civilization based on a settled way of life and a well organized social system. So here it is said that it was very relatively advanced civilization based on a settled life and was very organization. Three groups emerged in the Aryan society were kings and warriors, and their warriors were the most powerful groups. They were called Kshatriyas. The group of priests or Brahmins was equally important. Then came the craftsmen, traders, and cultivators. They were called Vaishyas. With the past on the time, a fourth group became to known, the concept of Daswas who did all the menial work. They looked upon up the other three groups, they were known as the Shudras. So here it is said that there were three groups emerged in the Aryan society, and after that one more group came. So the first group were the king and their warriors, which was the most popular and was known as Kshatriyas. And then came the priest and the Brahmins who were same equal to the Kshatriyas. Then came the craftsmen, traders and cultivators who were known as Vaishyas. And then the fourth group came, which was known as the Sudras, who were the Daswas who did all the menial work. The Brahmins held a respectable position in the society. They performed religious rituals called yagnas. The Kshatriyas were also greatly respected. Earlier, a boy was free to choose his occupation, but later on, it became the custom of a son to do the same work as his father. So here it is said, the Brahmins are very respectable in the society and they perform all the yagnas. Yagnas are ritual, religious ritual. And the Kshatriyas were also greatly respected. Understood? And before a boy was given to do whatever he wanted, but later on, a custom means family heredity had to be followed. If his father is a doctor, he have to become a doctor. If his father is a sweeper, he also have to become a sweeper. As per the religious texts, each man passes through four stages or ashramas in his life. They are brahmacharya or student life, grihastha or life of a householder, husband and father, vanapratha or life of a hermit, and finally sannyasa or complete renunciation of all worldly pleasures. So here it is said in the religious text it is written that a man has to pass four stages or ashramas. What are they? First, brahmacharya, student life, grihastha, householder, vanapratha, life of a hermit, sannyasa, complete renunciation of all worldly pleasures. So this was society. Embroidery, women wore ornaments such as rings, earrings, and necklaces. These were made of gold or other metal. Women also wore beads made in various designs and fashions. So here it is said that rich people wore golden thread embroidery. Women wore rings, earrings, and necklaces which were made of gold and other metals, and women wore beads made in various designs and fashions. Embroidery, women wore ornaments such as rings, earrings, and necklaces. These were made of gold or other metal. Women also wore beads made in various designs and fashions. So here it is said that rich people wore golden thread embroidery. Women wore rings, earrings, and necklaces which were made of gold and other metals, and women wore beads made in various designs and fashions. So now we'll be reading about occupation. Agriculture was the main occupation of the Aryans. Apart from agriculture, other occupations were cattle rearing, fishing, metalwork, carpentry, and tanning. Iron was had been discovered in India a little before 1000 BC. Weapons and tools were made of iron, copper, or bronze. But iron was the most preferred since it was a hard, strong metal. So, here it is said that agriculture was the main occupation of the Aryans. Apart from agriculture, there were many other occupations which Aryans did. They were cattle rearing, fishing, metalwork, carpentry, and tanning. Not Aryans, iron had been discovered in India a little before 1000 BC. Before 1000 BC means a little before 1000 BC. This iron was discovered, means you can say before means 1100 or 900 something like that only. And weapons and tools were made of iron, bronze, or copper. But iron was the most preferred since it was a hard, strong metal. The priests were involved in the teaching work. Education was only for the higher classes. Students lived with the gurus in separate schools called gurukuls. They had to memorize and recite the Vedic hymns. The priests were invited to perform big ceremonies. Priests were also doctors in their villages. They were ones who knew the secrets of medical herbs and plants, and they prevented the disease or cured them. So here it is said priests were involved in teaching. Education was only for high classes, and students have to live with gurus in a separate school which were known as gurukuls. And what they have to study, they have to memorize the Vedic hymns. The priest who invited means priests were invited to perform big ceremonies, and doctors in villages, priests are also doctors as they know the secrets of medical herbs and plants and prevent the disease or cure that disease. So this was occupation. Next comes the religion. To begin with, the Arya religion was simple but became more and more complex over time. They worshipped nature and offered sacrifices to their gods. So here it is said Aryan religion was very simple, but it became very complex over time, and they had worshipped to nature and offered sacrifices to their gods. The worship of nature. The Aryans worship different forces of nature. They worship the sky, the sun, the stars, the moons, the earth, the winds, the trees, the rivers, and the mountains. Each had a name. Indra was the god of thunder and rain, the god of strength, and the god of venture of the Aryan enemies. Agni was the god of fire. The name is similar to the igneous, the Latin word for fire. Surya was the sun god. Usha was the goddess of the dawn. Aryans performed sacrifices to please a particular god or goddess. So here it said they worship many gods. Means they worship nature, not gods. And they worship the sky, the suns, and many other things. And each had a name. Like Indra was the name of thunder and rain, the god of strength and venture of the Aryan enemies. Agni, the god of fire, which was similar to Ignis, which is a Latin word for fire. Surya, sun, Usha, goddess of dawn. And they performed sacrifices to please a particular god or goddesses. So this was the worship of nature. So now we'll be reading about megalithic culture. Megalith literally means a huge stone. The culture is called megalithic culture. So here it is said the meaning of megalithic, which means a huge stones. So this culture is called megalithic culture. From this age, big stones have been found sculptured or chipped into different shapes. Large stones were specially placed to mark burial sites, one of the outstanding features of the Iron Age. So here it is said that from this age only big stones were found or found sculptured or chipped into different shape, and these large stones were specially placed as burial sites, which was the outstanding feature of the Aryan Age. There are a variety of megalithics made from simple slab placed upright about placed upright in the ground to cut rock cut caves. Megaliths give a lot of information about the kind of lives people led. Burial practices were similar in different parts of India. So here it is said that there are a variety of megaliths made from simple slab placed upright in the ground to rock cut caves. They give very much information, megaliths. Okay, which which tell the kinds of the people they led, and burial practices were similar in different parts of India. The dead were buried with extensive pots which were known as red and black ware. Sometimes the body was buried with ornaments, tools, pets, animals like hares. So here it is said dead were buried with distinctive pots which were known as black and red wares, and this body was sometimes buried with ornaments and pet animals like hare. Different types of ornaments have been found in the grave in Varangari. So here it is said different ornaments are found in the grave. Sometimes there was more than one skeleton in a grave. Means in one place where one means the if you are buried there are more than one it was found. In Imangao, graves have been found inside the houses. So here it is said in Imangao, graves have been found inside the houses. In different parts of India, remains from megalithic culture have been found, including the Deccan, South India, the Northeast India, and Kashmir. So here it is said in different parts of India, remains of megalithic have been found. Where here few names are given, that is Deccan, South India, the Northeast, and Kashmir. From excavation of megalithic site, it is clear that these people were familiar with iron and used it for making weapons and elements. So here it is said that from the excavation of megalithic sites, we are very clear that they used irons which were used for making purposes like weapons and implements. They had complex idea about the life and death and had elaborate burial rituals. They were ornaments made of beads and gold. They traveled on horses and carried on trade with far off places. So here it is said their ideas were very complex about life and death and had elaborate burial rituals. They wore ornaments that were made of beads and gold, and they traveled on horses and carried on trade with far off places. Beads and precious stones and gold were items of exchange. So now we read about Chalcolithic culture. Before we have read about Chalcolithic culture, where we know that the copper, that in Chalcolithic culture copper was used. We already know copper was the first metal used by the early man. This culture used copper, which is known as Chalcolithic culture. Such culture flourished in India between 4000 and 800 BC. The Chalcolithic people were primarily rural communities. So here, we have read already that copper was the first metal used by the early man, and this culture used copper, which is known as Chalcolithic culture. Means this culture flourished between 400 to 800 BC. In this period only this culture have came into effect, and people these people are from primarily rural communities. They were spread over a wide area in those parts of the country where hills and rivers. There were hills and rivers. So here it is said, who spread this means in which area? In the area where there were hills and rivers. They worshipped the mother goddess, the bulls, Rudra, Shiva, Pasupati, Ganesh, Lakshmi, and fire. They also believed in life After that, Chalcotic culture people use a distinctive type of poetry. So here you say they worship the mother goddess, that is Durga, the bull, Rudra, Shiva, Pashupati, Ganesh, Lakshmi, and fire. And they also believe that there is some life after death. And they used a distinctive type of pottery. They were also expert in making copper tools and weapons, ornaments of various kinds, and terracotta figurines. They were skilled in the work of spinning and weaving cloth. So here it is said that they were expert in making copper tools and weapons, ornaments of various kinds, and terracotta figurines. And they were skilled in works of spinning and weaving cloth. With this, I have ended my chapter. I request you all to please see my video, like it, subscribe it, and if you have any doubt, you can inbox me. I am ready to answer your questions. Till then, thank you. Bye bye.